This happened to me and my girlfriend when we had just started dating. We had been on a few dates and were getting tired of the usual trips to the coffee shop and restaurants, so we wanted to try something different. Preferably, something that didn't involve spending money, since we were both struggling at the time. There was this 4-mile hiking trail just outside of the city that my coworker suggested to me to check out. He said not a lot of people go there, but it has some really great views of the city. I haven't been to this trail myself, but growing up, I used to go hiking all the time with my friends. My girlfriend, on the other hand, wasn't really big on being in the outdoors, but she seemed excited at the idea when I brought it up. We were looking forward to a relaxing hike in the woods. It was a sunny day, and we decided to go in the morning, around 8ish. There was hardly anyone there at that time. We enjoyed the cool, fresh morning air and the scenery as we walked hand in hand. My coworker wasn't lying about the views. My girlfriend was really enjoying herself, being that this was her first time going hiking. We didn't expect to meet anyone else on the way, but we did. He was a tall man with a scruffy beard, wearing a flannel shirt, jeans, and a backpack. He smiled at us and said hello. He asked us where we were headed and if he could join us. He said he was new to the area and wanted some company. I honestly wanted to say no, being that it was a date, but I didn't want to be rude and just leave him there alone. Plus, he seemed friendly and polite, so we agreed. He introduced himself as Mark and told us he was a writer. He liked to travel and explore new places and wrote short stories about the outdoors. He was out hiking that day looking for inspiration and joked that he might include us in his upcoming story. He seemed very well traveled, telling us about the different places he's been to all over the US. He asked us about ourselves and seemed genuinely interested. His eyes would light up whenever we would answer his questions. We chatted for a while, and he made us laugh with some jokes. He seemed like a really nice guy. But then something changed. As we come to a section of the trail which was heavily wooded, he started to become quiet and distant. He stopped making eye contact and started looking around nervously. He seemed to be reaching for something in his backpack. It started to get awkward at this point. "So, how are you liking it here so far?" I said, just to break the silence. "It's nice. I like it," he replied in a flat tone. My girlfriend gave me a look like, "What's up with this guy?" We started to feel uneasy and wondered what was wrong with him. We suddenly heard voices from another group of hikers coming from behind us. Mark heard them too and suddenly said he had to go. He said he had an urgent call and needed to find a signal. He thanked us for the company and quickly walked away. We watched him disappear into the woods. We started asking ourselves what could have made Mark go from being Mr. Nice Guy and cracking jokes to turning into Jason Voorhees all of a sudden. We actually felt relieved that he was gone. We didn't like his vibe, and we wanted to finish our hike in peace. We continued on our way and reached the end of the trail. There, we met some other hikers who greeted us warmly. They asked us if we had seen anyone else on the trail. We said yes. We had met a man named Mark who said he was a writer. They looked at us with shock and horror. They told us that Mark was not his real name and that he was not a writer. He was a fugitive who was wanted in connection with the disappearance of a couple from last week. He had been seen with them on the same trail, and then they vanished without a trace. The police were looking for him and warned people to stay away from him. We felt a chill run down our spines as we realized that we had just escaped from a potential killer. We couldn't believe our luck and how naive we had been. We thanked the other hikers for telling us and quickly left the area. We never went hiking again. I love hiking. It's my way of escaping the stress and noise of the city. I work an office job where I'm sitting most of the time. and I live far from where I work, so my commute takes at least an hour each way. Some people go to the gym to stay in shape, but hiking for me is easy and enjoyable. I have a favorite trail that I go to at least once a week that's close from where I live. It's not too difficult, but it has some beautiful views and a peaceful atmosphere. I usually go there in the morning when there are fewer people around. But today, I decided to go there later in the afternoon. I had some errands to run in the morning, and I thought it would be nice to catch the sunset on the trail. I didn't think it would be a problem. I knew the trail well, and I had my phone and a flashlight with me. When I got there, most people were getting ready to leave and the parking lot was starting to empty. I parked my car at the trailhead, put my hiking shoes on, and started walking. The weather was perfect, sunny but not too hot. The air was fresh and fragrant with pine. I felt relaxed and happy. I walked for about an hour, enjoying the scenery and listening to the birds. I decided to stop and take a break to enjoy the sunset. I didn't see anyone else on the trail, which was fine by me. I liked having the place to myself. I was enjoying the scenery when I noticed a man who was standing on a hill, about 100 yards away from me. He was wearing a dark hoodie and jeans, and he had a backpack on his back. He looked like he was in his 40s, maybe older. He had long, matted hair that covered his face, and he was staring at me. I felt a chill run down my spine. There was something off about him, something creepy. He didn't look like a hiker. He looked like he didn't belong here. He looked more like he was a homeless person who was on the trail for some reason. I tried to ignore him and continued walking. Maybe he was just resting or waiting for someone. Maybe he was enjoying the sunset like I was and wasn't even looking at me. I was focused in on the trail, and as I turned a corner, I saw him again. He was closer this time. He had moved down the hill and was coming towards the trail. He was close enough for me to confirm. He was staring at me with an intense and unsettling gaze. I felt a surge of fear. He was definitely following me. Why? What did he want? Was he planning to rob me? To hurt me? I turned away and quickened my pace, hoping to put some distance between us. It was starting to get dark by this time, and I looked around for other hikers, but there was no one in sight. I was alone with him. I reached for my phone, thinking of calling for help, but then I realized that I had no signal here. The trail was too remote and isolated. I cursed myself for being so stupid. Why did I come here so late? Why did I think it was safe? I kept walking, trying to stay calm and rational. Maybe he wasn't really following me. Maybe he was just going in the same direction as me. Maybe he would stop at some point and leave me alone. But he didn't. He kept following me, getting closer and closer with every turn of the trail. I could hear the sounds of broken twigs getting louder as I was making my way back to the trailhead. He never said a word. You would think that if he were someone who was trying to accompany me or ask me for something, he would call to get my attention. All of these different thoughts going through my head, and I'm not sure what to do. All I know is this guy has bad intentions, and I can't let him catch up to me. I started to panic, my breathing getting heavier from all the nervousness I was feeling. I had to get away from him somehow. I had to find a way out of this nightmare. I looked ahead and saw a fork in the trail. One path led to the left, the other to the right. I made a split-second decision and start running to the right. I hoped that he didn't catch me running into the right path, but he did. He started running towards me, closing the gap between us even more. He was faster than me and was catching up to me. I started to get the feeling that I couldn't outrun him and he was going to get me. I screamed. I ran as fast as I could. ignoring the pain in my legs and lungs. I prayed that someone would hear me, that someone would come to help me, but no one else was on the trail at that time. He was a few feet away from me when I noticed my car from a distance. Fortunately, the right path led me back to the trailhead. There was another car that had its headlights on and was about to leave the parking lot. I screamed as loud as I could. The driver heard me and stopped the car. Reinvigorated, I ran like never before towards the car. I could hear the footsteps of the man who was chasing after me, slowing down and getting distant. He must have noticed the car and decided to give up chase. I could hear him turning back and heading into the woods. I was crying uncontrollably as I ran to the driver's side of the car. I told the driver that there was a man chasing after me from the trail. The driver, who was an older gentleman, made sure I got into my car safely. I couldn't have thanked him enough for still being there. If I had decided not to run earlier, I might have missed him pulling out of the parking lot. I was still severely shaken by the whole incident. It took me a while for me to feel comfortable again hiking at that trail. I still hike there, and only go there in the morning like I usually do. One thing's for sure, I will never go hiking in the late afternoon ever again. I've always been a skeptic when it comes to the paranormal. I'd like to consider myself a realist. If my five senses can't pick it up, then it doesn't exist. I don't believe in ghosts, demons, or anything supernatural. I think they are just products of people's imagination or tricks of the light. That's why I didn't hesitate to go solo hiking on an old trail that some people claimed was haunted by a vengeful spirit. I honestly thought it was just a made-up story to attract tourists and thrill seekers. The trail was located an hour-and-a-half drive from where I live, in a remote area of the woods, surrounded by tall trees and rocky hills. It was supposed to lead to an abandoned cabin where a man had killed his wife and then himself many years ago. Some people said that his ghost still roamed the trail, looking for anyone who dared to trespass on his property. I didn't buy into any of it. I just wanted to enjoy the fresh air and the scenic views. I parked my car at the entrance of the trail and grabbed my backpack. I checked my phone and saw that I had no signal. No problem, I thought. I didn't need to call anyone or check social media. I was here to disconnect from the world and have some peace and quiet. I locked my car and started walking on the trail. The first part of the hike was easy and pleasant. The sun was shining through the leaves, creating a warm and cozy atmosphere. The birds were chirping and the wind was blowing gently. I felt relaxed and happy. I took some pictures with my phone and admired the beauty of nature. After about an hour, I reached a fork in the trail. There was a sign that pointed to the left saying cabin. The right path had no sign, but it looked more inviting and less steep. I decided to take the right path, thinking that it would lead me to a better spot to rest and have lunch. I followed the right path for another half an hour until I came across a clearing in the woods. There was a small pond with clear water and some rocks around it. It looked like a perfect place to sit down and enjoy the view. I dropped my backpack on the ground and took out my sandwich and water bottle. As I was enjoying my sandwich and looking in the pond, I noticed something strange in the water. It looked like a reflection of a person. I looked up, but there was no one there. I blinked and rubbed my eyes, thinking that it was just my imagination, or maybe I was exhausted. When I looked in the water again, the reflection was gone. I felt a chill run down my spine. I swore I saw the reflection of someone standing by the pond earlier, even if it was for a split second. Suddenly, My surroundings got eerily quiet. The birds went silent, and all I can hear was the wind. I got this creepy feeling that someone else was there with me. I looked around, but I was alone. It was all making me feel uneasy, so I put my sandwich and water bottle back in my backpack and stood up to leave. I ran away from the pond, back to the trail. I didn't look back, afraid that I would see someone following me. I reached the fork in the trail again and took the left path this time, hoping that it would lead me back to my car faster. As I was walking, I felt someone tug at my backpack. Startled, I looked back but saw no one. Maybe this trail really is haunted. The thought of it is getting me on edge, so I quickened my pace, wanting to get off this trail ASAP. And then I saw it, the abandoned cabin, about a few meters away from the trail. Was this the cabin of the man who allegedly murdered his wife? I didn't want to know. All I wanted to do was get the hell out of there at this point, so I started running. I'm running through the trail to get back when suddenly, I felt something yank my backpack so hard I almost fall backwards. My heart almost exploded from the whiplash. I run as fast as I could out of there without even looking back to see what or who was behind me. I make it back to my car, throw my backpack inside, and drive off. A few days later, I meet with my friend Jake at a coffee shop. He knew that I went hiking on the haunted trail and asked me how my trip went. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should tell him what happened or not. I decided to tell him. He listened patiently as I recounted my experience on the trail, leaving nothing out. "Wow," he said, "that's creepy. It might have really been him." He said that he knew the story of the ghost. The ghost was supposedly the man who had killed his wife and himself in the cabin. The reason why he haunted the trail was because he was looking for his wife's lover, and he's hostile towards male hikers, especially when they're alone. He wanted to tell me the story before I went out on that trail, but knew I didn't believe in ghosts. That experience changed my mind completely, and I have a newfound respect for the paranormal. I've come to agree that there are some things in this life that cannot be explained. I never went back to that trail and don't have any plans of doing so ever again.